The latest Star Wars show on Disney Plus, Ahsoka, is winning awards, but not the kind of awards you'd want to win. No, they're not doing well with the ratings. No, the audience is not tuning in. No, it's not being well received. But it is getting a boost from those who think that it portrays female empowerment in the right way. Today, we're going to dive in to whether or not that's a good thing or bad thing for Star Wars, and what does actual good female representation really look like. Female empowerment. Yes, folks, that is the vehicle, Star Wars, and the result, of course, female empowerment. Thus saith the Critics Awards, Critics' Choice Association coming out and declaring that Ahsoka, the Dave Filoni series, well, it is to be applauded. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of applause out there with the audiences because, well, we've seen the Nielsen ratings, and we know that Disney was at least misleading when it came to those official ratings. Here to talk with us about the situation is Michelle from Force of Light Entertainment. Welcome back.
Hello. Yes, nice to be back.
All right, folks, let's dive in. And as we do, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button. This out of comicbookmovie.com. Ahsoka receives the Seal of Female Empowerment in Entertainment from Critics' Choice Association Award. Wow. Well, that's quite the title.
I like the seal, by the way, that we see up there.
Isn't it lovely? Isn't it lovely? This by Josh Wilding. Many Star Wars fans are already hailing Ahsoka as Lucasfilm's best Disney Plus series. I'm done. I can't handle this. Gosh. I'd love to meet some of those people. Love to interview them right here on this channel, folks. We can't find them. As we first reported, congratulations, sffgazette.com. The Critics' Choice Association Women's Committee has selected Ahsoka to receive the Seal of Female Empowerment in Entertainment. Dubbed the Sophie, this seal recognizes outstanding new films and television series that illuminate the female experience and perspective through authentically told female-driven stories. Well, I struggle to find how this is authentic in any way. The characters are plastic. And I just want to go back to reminding everybody, I hate to do this again. I hate to be the rain on the parade of Star Wars and Dave Filoni, and who knows, maybe even his wife is having a part in this. Who knows? If we go to the Nielsen ratings, we've said it before, we'll say it again. Week number 2 for Ahsoka is weak when it comes to ratings. In other words, it did not appear on the top 10 whatsoever. Beaten by the Big Bang Theory reruns. That's how popular Ahsoka is. Michelle, what does it mean to receive awards when the real goal is not being met? And let me give you an example of what this feels like to me, and then you take it and run with it. In the NBA, there exists an award called the Sixth Man Award. Mm-hmm. It is given to the player who comes off of the bench, does not start the game, but comes off the bench and does exceedingly well out of everybody, all of those who come off the bench. And there have been times when the Sixth Man Award was really significant. Mm-hmm. I can think of, for example, the San Antonio Spurs employed a strategy where they brought Hall of Famer Manu Ginobili onto the court as the sixth man. Should have been a starter, but they employed this very unique strategy of having him come out and play as the other starters on the other team left, and then he could just wreak havoc. So there are times when it succeeds, but for the most part, the Sixth Man Award is given to not the cream of the crop because they're all starters. This feels to me like giving the Sixth Man Award to someone playing on the most losing team. You know, it's an award, but you're probably not real happy to get it. You'd much rather have positive ratings. What do you make of these sorts of awards?
I would say, as someone who played basketball through college, I would say that that's too generous of an offering because any good NBA team has a dang good sixth man if they're a good NBA team. But that would the Sixth Man Award you could compare to an award we already have, Best Supporting Actor or Actress. Really, they're not the star, but they supported the star and did a dang good job in it. This award it's totally made up. We already have awards for women, literally Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress. And then everything else is just fair game for best man or woman wins. So this is just a totally made up due to the era we're in, and it's pretty irrelevant, to be quite frank.
Ahsoka, of course, not able to break the top 10 on Nielsen's charts. That is quite the embarrassment. But this follows in a long line now of embarrassments for Lucasfilm. You struggle to imagine how it is that Kathleen Kennedy remains there, folks. We've given a timeline on when we think she will exit, and we're watching that closely. But you just think about, Willow, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, Andor, etc. It seems as if this is a studio which only succeeds in unsuccess. And we all have to just absolutely slog through the terrible content that they create over and over and over. Let's go, though, to the actual press release out of the Critics' Choice, the Sophie Award, and let's just take a look at what they have to say about the property. Building off her popularity in the animated series Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels, folks, those were kids' shows with limited viewership. No offense meant to those of you who watched it, but it was maybe 3 million people watching it. Now they're throwing $200 million at a live-action version of it. Not going so well. Ahsoka follows a former Jedi, Ahsoka Tano Rosario Dawson, as she seeks to quell a threat that is attempting to revive the Empire. Now here's what Lucasfilm had to say. And again, notice here, folks, we've only heard from Kathleen Kennedy twice since the Indiana Jones fiasco, and those were all in written statements. Again, no response from Kathleen Kennedy, who you would think would be the kind of person to respond here. Thank you to the CCA for acknowledging Ahsoka with this seal and recognizing our incredibly dedicated and collaborative creative team, stated Carrie Beck, EVP Live Action Development and Production Lucasfilm. And it goes on to talk about the seal of female empowerment entertainment is issued by the CCA Women's Committee. Members include, tells who's in there. Folks, go read this article if you struggle to believe that it's real. But my issue here is I don't think that it does women good if an unpopular show is given this award. I would think that you'd be looking to, let me give you an example. And I don't know if Stranger Things has ever won this. Stranger Things is phenomenally popular. Why would you not give it to Stranger Things whenever it's running? Give you another example, Michelle.
Who has
Wednesday, Jenna Ortega. Give it to a show that is lighting the culture ablaze. Don't give it to something that is burning down its own credibility.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think with they're not going to give it to like a Stranger Things because it's too balanced of good male characters and female character ratio there.
Brings balance to the Force and the genders.
It's too balanced. This award is just nonsense, to be quite frank. And it goes back to this idea of Hollywood acting like they're just now making empowering female roles, and which we know is not true. I mean, even in Star Wars, and I know Leia wasn't necessarily the lead role, but really, can you pick a lead out of those three? I guess Luke gets the hero's arc, but they get quite a bit of even screen time in my assessment. But even going back to Leia, a quote I hear in my mind as soon as I think of Leia is, "Well, someone's got to get us out of this mess." Looking at two men.
That's right, and she is. She's one of those first.
Woman.
No, she's one of the first times I can recall in entertainment where the princess does not necessarily need saving. She needs some help, but you unlock the door, she'll save herself, and she'll save you too. Michelle,
yes,
talk to us, and I don't want you to feel that I'm being too braggadocious towards you in this case, but I do want the audience to know, you have a doctorate, you're quite learned in these sorts of areas, you think about these deep philosophical concepts on a regular basis. Walk us through what is the proper form of female empowerment, and when do we see that in Hollywood? Like when that manifests itself correctly and most beneficially, what does it actually look like?
And I would say this may be different. It may be different to different people, but I could think of examples of like good empowering female roles. I think Leia was a good example of a empowering female role. Like she very much, like you said, she needed help. She wasn't just totally a damsel in distress, though she did need help. But I think that's even some of it. A good leader knows when they need to delegate, knows that they can't do everything on their own. and knows their own limitations. And I think you see that even in a character like Leia. You see it in a character like Ripley, an alien. Um, so I mean, that's hard to say. I'd have to think about it, but I think bottom line, like a good empowering character, they don't have to put another gender or anyone else down to be that leader or that driving force. Because leaders, whether male or female, they're leaders. Like they're going to lead, and a lot you don't have to like say I'm the leader, which is kind of what Hollywood does now. You lead by example. And again, sometimes that is letting someone else have the heroic moment because you recognize that they are more skilled in that particular area than you.
Let me throw an idea out at you, and you tell me what you think about it. And I don't know where you'll go with this, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on it. But one of the peculiar things that I find with all of this is that when I look at the show Ahsoka, and when I look more broadly at all of Star Wars as it has been since Disney purchased it, it seems to me that the female characters are presented in such a way as they are attempting to emulate the patriarchy that they supposedly hate so much. And I'll tell you, here's why I think that. I look across the spectrum of Star Wars that we have seen, and I struggle to find very many mothers. Now, we do have one mother in the Ahsoka show who is a hero, but for the most part, all of these women are not women who are in any sort of relationship. They're not women who bear any offspring. They don't have to watch over children. And so it's not as if the female characters are either generating some sort of benevolent matriarchy, nor do they seem to be pursuing the potential of matriarchy, but rather they seem to all be generated inside the mold of male heroes, and then they replicate the male heroes and their hero journeys. That doesn't seem to me to be necessarily true to life. I'm not saying that all women have to be mothers. I'm not saying that's everybody's job out there, just in the same way I would never say that every man has to be a father. But when the ratio is so dramatically askewed, in Star Wars, and perhaps this goes more broadly in entertainment, it seems like they have thrown away the idea of motherhood, and even more broadly than that, thrown away the aspects of femininity that involve the nurturing spirit, which I think is so important in femininity. What do you think of all that?
Yes, no, I totally agree. And in fact, again, I'm thinking in terms of roles that we've seen. There are two female roles that played heroes or heroines in
Now,
the
watch it about
last
the drug use.
yeah, not that. In the last 10 years that I think displayed femininity and were a different type hero in the sense of they truly were feminine in their approach to being a hero. And those two examples I will give, though she was not the first, as she might have said, Jennifer Lawrence's Katniss Everdeen was truly an example of a female hero. In fact,
Yes.
she leads her defining moment that starts this rebellion is this moment of compassion and empathy that she shows for a young girl. And she puts up the sign. And that's how she leads. She's not the best fighter necessarily. She just wants to survive and kind of gets thrusted into this position. But everything comes, even the I Volunteers tribute, everything starts from a place of compassion and nurture. There's a nurturer in Katniss Everdeen. And you see those elements there to where when you get to the very end of the trilogy and she becomes a mother of her own, it doesn't surprise you about that character. Then at another one, I feel in the first, not the second movie. I mean, she was still feminine in that, but it just wasn't good. I thought Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman displayed feminine characteristics, even like, oh, a baby, or her in that famous No Man's Land scene. Like she observes, like there's compassion you see there. Like she's observing this horror that is that's going on around her, and it's very feminine. Her approach to that movie, and I think it's why it did well and why it actually did resonate with women, because compare her to like a Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. There was just a lot of femininity there, and they allowed her to fall in love. They allowed her to do these things that Hollywood doesn't seem to like to let female heroes do in their movies. And so those are two examples that I think did display those roles. But overall, you're right. You're very hard pressed to find good examples of female characters anymore.
Indeed. But this is what Hollywood seems to think represents the best of women. And I understand, folks out there, some of you are going to say, well, now wait a minute, Ahsoka is a Jedi. She has to put away those romantic entanglements. And I say to you, nay, she is a former Jedi. No, I don't have any problem with Ahsoka being single, but I do find it interesting that so many of the women in this lack any kind of relational balance and also lack any kind of interest present or in their backstories regarding maternal sort of arcs.
Well, and I can say okay, let's take Ahsoka since we're talking Ahsoka. Those women all feel sterilized.
Yes.
Like they don't really feel like the typical woman you're going to meet on the street.
No, I agree with you totally. And the emotions they're not allowed to show the kind of emotions, right? They're not allowed to show the kind of emotions that would be perceived as weak by some, but which make us human. And so that's exactly, I mean, if you're looking for a reason that this fails, yet manages to win frivolous awards out there that should be made up and should be part of fiction, look no further than when Sabine comes across Ezra for the first time. They haven't seen each other in decades. They have been separated. They thought they would never see each other again. At least for Ezra, he has no reason to believe he's about to meet someone that could rescue him. He has been essentially banished for his entire rest of his existence. And when they meet each other, how do they respond? Lighthearted banter, as if nothing really happened. You're missing out on the tears. You're missing out on the hugging. You're missing out on the crescendos of life that you need in order to really make people care about these characters. And perhaps that is the summation of Dave Filoni and what is going on with Star Wars, is that you get these sort of facade-like awards, but you miss out on the humanity.
Exactly.
Michelle?
Exactly. And I'll say this fast. Going back again to my example of like a Katniss Everdeen, you see her emotion. And that's one of the things that's very appealing watching her as a female. It's very real. Like you feel her emotion at different times. She cries throughout it. It doesn't make her any less heroic. It just makes her human. And you know, I mean, we women do tend to cry a little more, but I mean, it just she compared that character to like what we're seeing on Ahsoka. Ahsoka's these very sterile characters that women are not going to relate to as much. And then you have like a Katniss that I think is very easy to relate to. And I think even men can relate to her to a degree, you know?
Absolutely. Authentic humanity is easy to relate to. Yeah. And that, I think, is why people love your channel. So tell us about it on this great, big, beautiful web.
Yes. Well, we just actually put out today our reaction. We're kind of creeping into the Halloween season. We just put out our first time watching reaction to David Fincher's Seven.
Ooh.
Yes. I found out what's in the box. Okay.
When can we expect a reaction video to Frankenweenie? I mean, we got to get the Halloween heavy hitters out there.
Haven't heard of that one, so definitely haven't seen it.
All right. Well, folks, if you have recommendations for what you would like Force of Light to watch for Halloween season and get reactions, I'm sure that they would love some comments over on their channel. And even better than that, you might consider subscribing. Folks, you can do the same right here. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you do indeed stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Did we get this right? Did we get it wrong? And folks, don't forget to tell us what's on your mind. We actually care. We covet your thoughts. And if you did not yet see the video about Dave Filoni's wife, who, yes, she is a Star Wars writer, came out this morning, and it was one of the most bizarre pieces of content we have ever tried to tackle. Go check it out and let us know how we did with it. It may actually give you a glimpse into what could be happening with Star Wars in regards to will they or won't they ever fix the sequel trilogy. Hint, you're not going to like it if you dislike the sequel trilogy. Well, folks, we hope you like us. We like you. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things.
Hold up.
TPP is the place to be. Covering the news, so honestly, it's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Line. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of other graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news that should be fun. With accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.